Boom. Speeding, got my hat on, my hair is super long. Fellas, in case you're wondering, I'm like not cutting my hair until this pandemic is over. Anyways, what's going on, fellas? I know it's been a hot minute. The FPV shoots have been crazy, back to back, everywhere from being into like the crazy forest to the blistering cold at the tops of mountains. That's where I've been. Anyways, you're not here to hear my crazy stories. You're here to find out about the 2Fiddy. And well, I'm glad and excited to say, fellas, it's right here. It's finally here. A legit production 2Fiddy frame. Initially, our first batch, we had some QC issues with some gaps. We had that addressed with the manufacturer, and now this is finally a perfect 100% legit 2Fiddy frame in production. First batch is already shipping out. If not, they've already shipped out by the time this video comes out. So we're on to batch 2, so check out the link in the description if you guys want to get in on the next batch. However, I do want to call out a couple of updates. So the changes that we have made for production. As you can look up here, up front, you'll see a third hole. That is so that it works perfectly with the Nebula Pro camera. Basically, it pushes the camera forward enough so that these carbon side plates are not in view, but of course still well within the protection of the super strong FPV cam cage. The other update that we did is that here's a older prototype. As you can see, we have these M2 press nuts, and we originally used M2 bolts to screw into the Vista and then into the press nut to keep the Vista in place. However, I figured that's overkill, because on the frame that I used to do the crash testing, I just used double-sided sticky tape and zip ties. So I figure we could save a little bit of weight by not using the press nuts and all of that, and just keep it simple. Double-sided sticky tape and zip ties. The last update that we did is, if you take a close look here, you'll notice the 2 new diagonal motor bolts, and that is so that if you feel like running your own 12x12 motors, you can. And the difference is because on my motors, the Aerolites, I have the motor bolts in line with the motor wires exiting, and I feel like that's just the most efficient and weight-conscious saving way for mounting these motors. And in case you're concerned, trust me, 2 bolts is plenty. If you don't believe me, check out the crash video that I did with the 2Fiddy, because that's using 2 bolts, and not once did I have any issues with the motor bolt snapping or the motors breaking off or anything like that. So, other update I've got is the battery. So, I've been working with GNB to come out with a dope 6S pack that still meets that 250 gram mark, and they originally sent me this 350 milliamp 50C and this 300 milliamp 80C. Did I say all that wrong? Okay, well, anyways, the problem with these two is that this pack had decent flight times, but the power was lacking. This one had really dope power, but then the flight time was a little bit lacking. And so I asked GNB to come out with something that kind of has the best of both worlds. And not only did they come out with exactly what I wanted, but they also exceeded my expectations in the weight department. More on that in a second. So here's the battery, fellas. But this is a 380 milliamp high volt pack, and it's packing a 90C rating. So we're gonna have more, basically better than what I expected in terms of flight time and power. But most importantly, when I was talking to them, they did say that this is probably gonna come out to 68 grams. And at the time, I was concerned because 68 grams for the build that I had would have been really close to that 250 mark. Like, it would have came in at like 249. And so I was a little concerned, you know, just for some different build variances, that might not work. And so I was doing things like switching over to the Nebula Pro cam, because that saves like 5 grams. I swapped to a lighter antenna. Basically, I did a handful of things, everything that I could to save as much weight, anticipating that this was gonna weigh 68 grams. Well, the good news, fellas, it's not 68 grams. It actually weighs as much as this guy, which is 62.5 grams, which means if you're interested in building a 2Fiddy with the 6S power pack, you don't have to sit there and watch every single gram in your build. As long as you're using relatively lightweight components, you can even use the DJI cam you will be within 4, 5, 3 grams away from that 250 gram mark. You know, maybe 2 if you use a really fat piece of umber grip. It's perfect. Like, it's like the perfect width for this thing right here. All right, last update is this guy. So this is the new AIO from FetTech, and this is 6S capable. I believe, I wanna say this is 25 amp, maybe 35 amp. I'm gonna have to double check that. He sent it to me in an email and I just can't quite remember. So what this means is for all of my Kiss fans, you can build one of these and have Kiss on it and have it still be a nice lightweight setup, just in case you don't like Betaflight. Once again, just as a reminder, fellas, you've got multiple bolt patterns here for FC. It'll do 30 by 30, 20 by 20 on the inside, and of course the whoop style layout. The only thing this thing can't do is 16 by 16, and you don't want to run 16 by 16 anyways. Arguably, no 16 by 16 stack is going to hold up to the power demand of a 2004 5-inch setup. So, all right, fellas, that's going to wrap it up. Stay tuned. I've got a build video coming up in case you guys want to see that. And if there's anything else you guys need to see, want me to do a video on, drop it down in the comments. Oh, PID tune. I will update the product description website with the latest and greatest PID tune, filter tune for the 2Fiddy, for different props, and I'll continue to update it depending on what props come out, different firmwares that come out, and things like that. And last but not least, don't forget to join our Facebook group. We're a bunch of nice people over there, the Yellow Guide crew. If you have any questions about your build, products, or you just want to share some videos, more than welcome to do that. All right, that's it. I'm out.